Good evening. We're going to open this meeting. We have no closed session report as we will be going into closed session after the meeting, correct, Mr. City Attorney?
That is correct, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Ivana, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ivana. She's one of our planning commissioners, so thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ayala.
Here.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Here.
Councilmember Litster.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
Here.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Here. Are there any items for agenda review?
There are not, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I move that all resolutions and ordinances presented tonight be read in title only and all further reading be waived.
Second.
Call for the vote. It's not locking.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. If any member of the city council may have a conflict of interest or for any reason why that member must abstain from consideration on any matter on this agenda, he or she should so declare at this time. Seeing none, we can move forward, Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, first on the agenda is Agenda Item 2, Public Statements on Appointments, Special Presentations, and Informational Reports. We have no speakers for this item. Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is Item 3B, presentation by Jeff Kaiser, Sci-Fi Project Manager regarding Sci-Fi fiber optic and activation of internet services.
Perfect. Thank you for allowing us, our company, to speak today and provide updates on the Simi Valley Fiber Optic Network. For those of you that may not be familiar with this project, Sci-Fi has constructed a full fiber network that runs 100% on fiber optics. This project started construction in 2021 and will provide the freedom to choose internet that reaches speeds of up to 10,000 megabits per second, or as it's commonly referred to, 10 gig speeds. We've installed this network at no cost to the taxpayers, and this project is responsible for pulling and paying for over 200 plus individual city permits, which have had an impact on city revenue. In short, the network is citywide, meaning that we pass each and every home and business, enabling every household the opportunity to connect and helping to close the digital divide. When we last reported to the city council in December of 2024, we faced major milestones to complete this project. One being our railroad crossings, which after much coordination over multiple jurisdictions, I'm happy to report that all crossings have now been completed, allowing us to add a significant portion of serviceable live addresses to the network. The focus now is on the ramp-up efforts to close out and wrap up this project. Simi Valley started with 3.6 million feet of micro-trenching required, and I'm pleased to report that we will be completing the micro-trenching portion of this project next month. Yes, you heard that correctly. Mainline micro-trenching will 100% be complete in September of 2025. The micro-trenching machine pictured above has been a fixture on the streets of Simi Valley for several years and is responsible for providing a minimally invasive, precise, and efficient way to create the trench that houses our fiber. As many are aware, construction can be difficult at times, and we do our best to dig once to deliver a sustainable network that is as relevant today as it will be for the next generation. Crews have been busy installing the fiber for network to go live, and our next 2 slides focus on what we all have been waiting for. When will my area receive service? We are currently serving a little over 30% of the city, but in these next few months, we will see a large uptick in serviceability. We have doubled the amount of fiber installation crews to meet the demand, and because of that, August will bring an increase of 11% of live addresses to the city. September to provide another 21%, and October really reflects our ramp-up efforts by adding another 27% of live addresses to the city. Our final 11% of network go live will be added by the end of 2025, split across November and December. For those of you that have been waiting since the project's inception, you will finally have service available in your neighborhood by the end of this calendar year. The construction for this project has been divided into 16 work zones, and the map above has the month we are planning to go live for each of those work zones. By the end of this month, the Wood Ranch and surrounding areas will be able to receive live service. And when the community is celebrating Halloween in October of this year, Atherwood Park and those surrounding areas will receive live service. By the end of the 2025 year, 99% of the city will be live, and this culmination of construction is due to close coordination with the city and much hard work from our construction crews. Now that the city has live service, what are the next steps? Well, for Sci-Fi, we have increased the daily installation teams and will continue to increase the amount of daily installs to keep up with the rising demand and additional live addresses. If you are a business owner or resident, you can sign up at our website and choose between internet service providers, and we will be in touch to arrange a time and date for installation. Prior to the start of any installation, our crews will review the path to connect to your property and follow any customer-specific requests. Our crews really do a good job, and I could report as of today that we have 100% installation success and have no customer installs that we were not able to be completed. A true testament to the effort and skill of our installation teams. As we prepare to complete this project, Sci-Fi ramp-up efforts will continue to have a focus on fiber connections within the network, as well as focus on increasing the number of daily customer installations. It has been a long journey to get high-speed fiber internet across the entire city, and one person that has been essential to this project is Deputy Public Works Director Brent Seamer. He has provided continued support while balancing the needs of both the city and the project. And without him and his team, we would not have been able to do this. With that, we thank you and look forward to the completion of our network. I plan to stay after today's city council meeting to answer any questions, but want to thank everyone for your time today.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Councilmember Litster?
Thank you for this report. There are many, many people who've been very anxiously awaiting, as you well know. I was not understanding, obviously, I believe it's Flume and Gigabit Now are the 2 authorized providers. I had assumed that they do the actual installation from the street to the house, but am I understanding that you are the body that actually does the physical installation at that point?
We have a contractor, Aspire Communications, that handles the installations. Flume and Gigabit are the internet service providers, so we would be installing in order to have them provide that service. So we would complete the install, they would then give you service as an ongoing forever.
And you stay around forever to do this?
We're-
Aspire does?
Yeah, we're in the city for 25 years. Technology at that point may change, but we have a long-term commitment to the city.
We appreciate that 25-year commitment. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4, public statements. Since a public hearing under agenda item 5 is continued to a date uncertain, agenda items 4 and 6 are combined, and the council will hear all public statements under this item 4. Agenda item 4 and agenda item 6 are the times allotted for public statements on all items other than public hearings, appointments, and informational reports. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted to speak for this public statement item 4 for a period of no more than 3 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Madam Mayor, unless you have any comments, we'll begin the public statements.
Please do so.
I will call 3 names at a time. Mike Shaw, Eileen Eason, and Anthony Eason.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Glad to see you all. Everybody looks nice and healthy and smiling. I want to start off the night by thanking you all. Believe it or not, there's some speed limit signs down at the east end of Cochrane. So that's one I can scratch off my list of barking at. And I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I wanted to remind everybody, there's a job fair, August 26th, and it's not just a job fair, it's a mega job fair. So you gotta come and check it out because this is your opportunity to connect with the top talent in Simi. So that's my little public service rant. And then after the last council meeting, it was stressful for us all. And a couple days after the meeting, I was at a Kiwanis meeting, and this lovely lady spoke, Lori Woodley. And I won't go into all of her qualifications because she's got a bunch, and I do a disservice. And all I can say is the work she's done with Conejo Valley, Unified, and the Ventura County Sheriffs with gang prevention, she took those tools that she developed and she uses the tools not just for teaching young kids how to control their anger and voice their opinions and how to behave. It just, again, I do it a disservice. All I can say is if you look at the book and you open it up, any page you read will remind you of the last couple city council meetings. So it was my gift to all you guys to say thanks for the street signs. That's it. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Alin Eason, and I have lived in Simi Valley for 41 years. I am opposed to short-term rentals in Simi Valley. I have experienced living right next door to an STR and would not wish that on anyone else. I spoke about all the problems I had here at the City Council meeting back on March the 10th. There was a time when people went into public service because they actually cared about their community and their fellow citizens. Sadly, that's not happening now. And most of this council only cares about their own selfish opinions. Shame on all of you. Councilman Rhodes, you said there are only 100 STRs in Simi, so it's just unfortunate for people living next door to an STR. In other words, you're saying, sucks to be you. Be honest, would you like an STR right next door to you? Councilman Judge, how about you? Does having an STR as a neighbor sound like something you would like? Councilwoman Lister, if your next door neighbor put their house up for sale, would you like the buyer to make it an STR? Councilman Ayala, I'm so disappointed that you feel it's okay to have STRs in our neighborhood and community. Do you want an STR next door to you? City Council is supposed to listen to residents' concerns and work to improve the quality of life in the city. This is not happening. Mayor Kavanaugh, thank you. It seems like you're the only one that actually hears and cares what the people are saying. At the last city council meeting, there were 7 people who spoke to ban STRs in Simi, while no one came to speak in favor of allowing or regulating them. Maybe we need to have a ballot initiative and let the people decide what they want. Please do the right thing and ban all short-term rentals here in Simi, like our neighboring cities of Moore Park and Camarillo have done. Think about it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Eason. I'm a Simi Valley resident and homeowner, and I'm against STRs. The correct answer to the last council meeting's simple math problem is 0.32%, not the given 0.003%. That being said, why would the city council let 0.3% of homeowners, many of whom are probably not even residents of the city, dictate to the other 99.7% of homeowners that their residential community standards should be what they should be? You should listen to the city attorney. On numerous occasions, he has told the council that under current municipal code, I believe it's Title IX, and that land uses that are not specifically listed are not allowed. Not allowed is defined as something that is prohibited or not permitted. It refers to actions or items that are against the rules or laws. By definition, under the municipal code, STRs are already not allowed, and yet the council allows them to exist with no consequence. I would say they are already illegal. To the Simi Valley Acorn and the unregulated homeowner, legal business owners that I have heard claim this is an overreach of government, let me say this. No one is denying you the availability to rent property. We are saying you shouldn't be able to rent for less than 30 days. Should property owners have the right to do anything they want? Should we allow homeowners to have other businesses in residential communities? How about dog grooming, car repair, adult bookstore, massage parlor, strip club, or marijuana dispensary? No. Local governments have the right and responsibility to create laws to protect the communities they represent and serve. They shouldn't let a very small and opportunistic business segment dictate the community standards they should be representing. Thank you.
One moment, please. Thank you. Please, the next 3 speakers.
The next 3 speakers are Jim McGillis, Ivana Chrisman, and Savannah Downs.
Hello, my name is Jim McGillis. I'm a resident here of Simi Valley and have been for 18 years. Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, city staff, on August 4th, the council discussed short-term rentals, or STRs. While the council voted not to act, thank you to Mayor Dede Kavanaugh for your dissenting vote. Indicating deference for proposed laws, Councilmember Rose was quoted as saying in the Acorn that it will probably be 2 months premature to vote at this time. Research shows that the state bills will focus primarily on taxes, transparency, and local control. In time, the legislature will throw the issue back to the cities. There will be no comprehensive statewide solution. At your August 4th meeting, several residents spoke up, asking the council to enact a full ban on STRs. 2 speakers expressed the horror of having a party house in their neighborhood, including noise, trash, and constant disruption. Speaking of the horror, the Poltergeist house we used in the 1982 movie is an unregistered STR in our community. It is now so famous that Channel 9 television program featured it on both their newscast and on their website. Simi Valley was once known as an owner-occupied bedroom community. Now scores of STRs operate throughout the city. With Los Angeles's current ban on second home STRs, that number will grow. Once affordable homes in my Texas tract now list for $900,000. With few exceptions, only investors and corporations can afford such prices. Simi Valley has become an investment mecca for those with indifference to the disruption that their STR may cause to a neighborhood. I know, for 10 years, I lived next to a party house. We called the police 14 times for wild parties, resulting in a single citation. Now my other next door neighbor is a corporately owned STR. It features glowing reviews online for its location in a quiet neighborhood. We will never see owner occupancy again at that house. Wherever you may live in Simi Valley, do you want an unregulated, unlicensed business operating next door? Should we wait until it's too late to stop the destruction of our beautiful community in favor of greed and additional tax revenue? Now is the time to enact a full ban on short-term rentals. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, City Council, my name is Ivana Chrisman. I live in the Runkle Canyon Project, and I'm here to talk about the consent item 8 tonight. I am a planning commissioner, like Mayor Kavanaugh said, and I am here only in the capacity of being a resident in Simi Valley and not being a planning commissioner. I was not going to come tonight and talk to you because of two reasons. One is because of all of these people who are voicing out their concerns and advocating for themselves. I know that you all want to go home tonight and not stay here until midnight. But my second reason is because I do support this particular item being voted in. What I'm asking you to consider is that giving the city manager the power to extend these contracts. It is not because I do not have trust in the city. It is because I believe that this development, after everything that we've been through, deserves due diligence, transparency, and attention of the City Council voting it in on the consent calendar in the future. That being said, I hope you consider this, and thank you for everything that you do.
Hello, everyone. My name is Savannah Downs, and I am a senior at Royal High School. I find myself standing here today because I've seen the light go out. The fuse of energy against a common threat is dimming. Yes, a threat. Who's to say what happened to Michael Robinson cannot happen to another person? Michael didn't deserve what happened to him. He was attacked by a group of racist boys in overwhelming numbers as their means to assert dominance over someone who did nothing wrong. They wanted to prove that they were big and he was small. All they did was make themselves look heinous and self-righteous. Michael, from what I've heard, is incredibly sweet, but even if he wasn't, he wouldn't harm anybody, nor go out of his way to practice malice intent. This was a hate crime. There are two main reasons why I am sure of this. One, the disease of racism bleeds all over this town. It runs our streets and disturbs the culture. Our town is ridden with this plague. What I find so objectively fascinating about it is that so many of us are varying in background. We are different races, ethnicities, and even personalities. That is a beautiful thing that so many people don't see. They don't see beyond their whitewashed sphere of influence because they were never taught to put themselves in another's shoes. They were never taught to have empathy for anyone different than them. But even then, the only difference is one's outsides. We all bleed red. I have no doubt in my mind that this was a hate crime because they themselves feel no remorse. The opposite of love is indifference, not hate. Hate means you care too much. It runs through your skin in more than just race. In all honesty, those who are racist are entirely hateful of those different than them, and for that, I am incredibly sorry. They will never get to experience life from a lens of varied perspectives. They will all die unreasonably angry. 2, I sought out the Simi Valley Police Department's mission and value statements to personally understand their intent. I will focus on the latter. The value statement is as follows. We will accomplish our mission with a commitment to duty, honor, and integrity. It goes on to define these terms to the context of which they apply, and for each I can easily dissect their lack of obedience to them. Duty, the obligation to do what is legally and morally right. When the police were called and no one was arrested, Three of them turned themselves in and they were cited and released. Honor, treating everyone with dignity, respect, and equality. No one here was treated with any of these things besides those who were guilty. Michael Robinson was brushed over and passed aside by our police officers in favor of the abusers. We should be ashamed. Integrity is honesty and fairness in everything we do. What here, in any sense of the word, was fair? They lied to the public about arresting criminals, when in fact, they were not arrested at all. That is not honest, and that is certainly not fair. I make these claims on the premise that we as civilians en masse are known to portray similar ideologies to our authority. For example, if the police in our town do not support the innocent black man solely because they have a bias for those involved, why should the next angry racist person not go for violence when the precedent has been set that things of this nature are not handled properly due to hate within the system itself? To those who run this city, you pride yourselves on justice. No one is just until this is made right. We must hold our cops accountable to the same principles that we do our civilians. Join me and countless others in this city that are choosing not to let Michael Robinson's story rest by handling this tragedy with the care it deserves with the power vested in you. This possible right deed is a step in the right direction towards racial equality in our community, and it would be a great start. Thank you.
Next three names, please.
The next three speakers are Ansel Ahmed, Reverend Amanda Berg, and Chris Chestnut.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Ansel Ahmed. I'm a recent graduate from the University of California, Riverside with a degree in bioengineering. Before that, I was a Santa Susana Troubadour, and before that, a Sinaloa Sabre. But instead of being out looking for work, I'm here standing with the people of the city, and I need to get three things off my chest. First, the hate crime that happened on August 1st is unfortunately one of the worst cases of CME, police, and court negligence I've ever seen. I want to echo the fact that if the roles were reversed and 5+, almost 9 people of color jumped young white men, there would be swift and, dare I say, deadly consequences. The thugs that were arrested were released with a PC 242 slap on the wrist. And as a community, how are we to feel safe when we have trash like that on our streets? This fits the profile of hate crime based off not only video evidence and audio from not only the victims, but from the attackers. And those small men should be treated and prosecuted as such by this system instead of trying to placate the community with promises of accountability in statements which we are beyond tired of. Second, let's talk ICE. On August 2nd, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in LA granted a stay to a previous motion to prevent ICE from picking people off the streets based on these factors: whether or not they speak Spanish, what their skin color is, what area they might hang around, and what their profession might be. Simi Valley residents and the children of the city, my parents, deserve the same unalienable protections as granted by the court and our nation's constitution. And until we feel protected as a community, you best believe this city hall will be filled to the brim every Monday session. Third is a motion to call for the Simi Valley Unified School District to announce countermeasures against ICE activity on or near school grounds and against the student population. When are our leaders, our local government, going to stand and actually lead the people and stand for them rather than pander to them? At Lemon Park Veterans Memorial, there are 2 empty plaques next to the wars of the past. I can tell you right now that if the people of this nation and this city don't see change, the next plaque will be another civil war. Because how dare you think we will go silently while injustice occurs in our hometowns? Thank you.
Madam Mayor, council members, and neighbors, my name is Amanda Berg, and I serve as the pastor at Shepherd of the Valley Lutheran Church in Simi Valley. I come here tonight along with others from our congregation regarding the recent attack on Michael Robinson. In addition to being a physical assault on him, it is also an assault on what holds us together as community. Every person, regardless of race, culture, or background, deserves dignity, safety, and respect. In the Lutheran tradition, we hold to the saying, call a thing what it really is. To not gloss over when something is wrong, or be afraid to call it out. In this case, calling out a racist, hateful act. The harm done by this act of violence generates fear, and fear is the enemy of neighborliness. To be in solidarity with those that are being targeted or marginalized is not a political statement, it's a human one. We all belong to each other. Tonight, I ask the council and all gathered here to commit ourselves to a vision of Simi Valley where diversity is celebrated, not feared. Where we do not look away when our neighbor suffers, but move toward them in solidarity and compassion. We cannot undo the harm to Michael that night, but we can work to not let it continue to happen. Choosing not silence, but truth, not division, but community, not hate, but healing. Let's make Simi Valley the kind of community where neighbors see each other, respect each other, protect each other, and love each other. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Chestnut, and I've lived in Simi for nearly 40 years now. I've seen many things change over that time, and some things just never seem to change around here. For example, I've been here long enough to remember back in '92 when the Ku Klux Klan was allowed a permit in this city to rally underneath the protection of the Simi Valley Police Department. And now, 30 plus years later, with you in control, we have regular MAGA truck rallies freely parading down our streets. And at this point in time, you can't convince me or any decent person in our community that there's any fucking difference between the two. Mayor Kavanaugh, I've noticed the past couple of city council meetings, you've wasted more time interrupting speakers, trying to police their language and silence the authentic voices of your community than it takes to actually listen to what is being said. It comes off to some of us that you have more important things to do, more important places to be. And I want to bring back to your attention 2 meetings ago when back there, a Shrek from the No Rules group started spouting off the type of racist Shrekery you might hear at a '92 KKK rally or a modern day MAGA truck rally, you know, the ones that Mike Judge goes to. And then when the room erupted in disgust the way it should, the 8 police officers in here treated that racist with absolute kid's gloves, while you, the unelected Mayor Kavanaugh, rather than read the room that we won't tolerate that shit in our community, you kicked us all out. It was very apparent to me and many others in attendance that night which side you and the police department really are on. I also noticed something in that moment, something I'll never forget, something that should keep you up at night. In that moment, when the people were unified saying, kick her out, I was standing right over there. I saw it all happen. You were banging on your gavel. You were yelling on the microphone. You were completely drowned out. Nobody in the room could hear you. The people's voices were louder than your gavel. So let this be a real-time lesson to you folks. On the road to fascism, there will be many, in many different ways, who will try to silence you, tell you you're overreacting, discredit your just ideals for things such as equality and liberty and justice for all. So now that the cat is out of the bag, and I say to you, the people, feel free to remind the unelected Mayor Kavanaugh, as often as she may need it, that your voice is louder than her gavel.
The next 3 speakers are Dr. Michael Koslow, Jamie Sanchez, and Jordan Ferguson.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I rise as a U.S. congressional candidate in our district to address proposed bipartisan legislation I have previously presented to leadership in other city councils to state that in our cities, we are experiencing a contentious environment among Americans. We are working diligently in the new administration to correct the adverse impacts of open immigration, laws permitted by the previous administration. In that light, I've been in contact with the Office of Representative Maria Elvira Salazar, a Republican in Florida, who introduced the Dignity Act of 2025, H.R. 4393, in the U.S. House of Representatives on July 15, 2025, a bipartisan effort to strengthen border security in the United States, provide undocumented individuals with an opportunity to obtain legal status and work visas if they meet certain strict requirements, and update aspects of the U.S. legal immigration system. Filing fees for work visas would be offset by tax credits. The bill also is sponsored by Representative Veronica Escobar, a Democrat in Texas, and an additional 10 original Republican co-sponsors. This bipartisan effort comes as a new polling indicates that 8 out of 10 Americans believe immigration is a good thing for the U.S. and support allowing undocumented immigrants to earn legal status if they meet certain strict requirements over a period of time. The bill is divided into the following 3 sections. 1, Border Security for America Act, Border Security, Asylum Reform, and Mandatory E-Verify. 2, Dignity and American Promise and the DREAM Act. 3, Fairness for legal immigrants, employment, and student visas. I must further state that the recently introduced Registry Act by one of our state senators essentially provides amnesty for undocumented workers. As stated, the Dignity Act does not provide amnesty. The Dignity Act of 2025 is a groundbreaking bill that offers the solution to our immigration crisis, helps secure the border, stop illegal immigration, and give longstanding productive immigrants a well-deserved chance to stay and work here. No amnesty, no handouts, no citizenship. Just accountability and a path towards economic stability and a better future. You've all been provided a copy of the executive summary, so I thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jamie Sanchez, and I'm a mother of 3. I grew up in Simi Valley, a city often recognized as one of the safest in the nation. But safety is not felt equally by all of us. We often hear Simi described as a safe city, yet that story erases the truth of violence and exclusion, both past and present. Before joining the service, I was desensitized to how deeply discrimination shaped my community. It felt normal. But serving in the Navy opened my eyes to what justice really means. I know now that ignoring these issues doesn't make them disappear. It only allows them to grow. At one point, Councilmember Mike Judge claimed that racism is a myth in Simi Valley. That couldn't be further from the truth. Racism is real. I've seen it, I've lived it, and my children are already beginning to feel it. My son is one of Michael Robinson's best friends. When Michael was brutally attacked, it wasn't just news, it was personal. His case exposed the bias and injustice that are still very much alive here today. And just after that last council meeting, I witnessed a DUI hit and run outside of my apartment complex by a juvenile. Was that put on Nixle? Our community deserves transparency about the dangers our kids face by putting themselves in risky situations, particularly when parents may not even know where their children are. On top of that, I've seen more and more domestic violence in teenage relationships, but most of those people are silent because they're worried about their parents' judgment. When violence like this happens, we need to ask not only what our city is doing, but also what roles our parents are playing in raising their children. Parents must be held accountable for teaching their kids right from wrong. We can't expect schools or law enforcement to fix what starts at home. Young people commit violence. It reflects a failure of guidance, discipline, and accountability at home. Ignoring that fact only allows the cycle to continue. Nina Simone once said, "My job is to somehow make them curious enough or persuade them by hook or crook to get more aware of themselves and where they came from, and I will do it by whatever means necessary." That's what I am here to do tonight. As a Navy veteran, our core values were honor, courage, and commitment. Simi Valley should embrace its own set of core values, values that uphold equality, accountability, and safety for every resident. I shouldn't have to keep fighting for justice and freedom at home, but I will, because our children deserve better. So I am asking this council to commit to real accountability, equality in our schools, investment in youth safety and prevention programs, and to stand publicly with Michael Robinson and his family. Show our kids that this city values their lives and their future. I defended this country in uniform. Now I'm asking you to defend our children with action.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Jordan Ferguson. I'm here from Procopio on behalf of Runkle Canyon. I just wanted to let you know that we're here this evening to answer any questions that you may have. We're working currently with the city attorney on the development agreement extension, which we're hoping to bring back to you guys soon. But we wanted to let you know now that we're here in a commitment to transparency and to getting this project done, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have for us this evening. So I'll leave it at that for now, but if you have any questions, we will be here to answer them. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Jacqueline Snow, Mark Luker, and Anthony Thompson.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jacqueline Snow, and I'm a concerned resident of Simi Valley. As the new school year begins, families in our community are afraid to send their children to school. Across California, there have been reports of ICE showing up around schools, and parents live here with the same fear that it could happen in Simi Valley. No child should be forced to choose between their education and their family's safety. That fear doesn't just live in immigrant households, it spreads through our whole community. And when our council members do nothing to speak up about it, it erodes our trust in all of you in particular. When local law enforcement makes no moves to protect our most vulnerable, when people are afraid to call the police, the community that elected you in good faith loses faith in you. Police departments across the country have said that they will not work with ICE. So when will Simi Valley Police Department do the same? When will they make it their job to protect and serve all the people? Here are a few demands tonight: that the city adopt a policy that SVPD will not participate in civil immigration enforcement or share personal information with ICE, that you make it clear that everyone, regardless of their status, can call 911, access city services, and go to school without fear for their safety, that you pass a resolution condemning ICE raids, including around schools, and affirming that Simi Valley is committed to protecting every resident, that you join ACLU's lawsuit protecting sanctuary jurisdictions from illegal federal overreach, and finally, that you put this topic on the agenda for the next city council, because clearly your constituents are fired up on all ends. We're here, we're not going anywhere, we're going to continue showing up. Provide a space for us to talk about it. I'm here to ask you again, as one of many concerned community members, to act. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Mark Luker. I've been here resident for 30 years. I just want to say how happy it is to see the mayor here safe and, well, reasonably sound. And I want to give a special thanks to the Simi Valley Police Department for making sure that that stayed that way. And the only other thing is Los Angeles Ave needs to be repaved.
All right, good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh, City Manager Argabright, council members, and fellow citizens. My name is Anthony Thompson. I'm a resident and a business owner here in Simi Valley, and I'm here to share my perspective as someone who's been deeply impacted by the recent events and even more deeply committed to help our community to heal and grow stronger together. Over the past week, I've had the privilege of spending a lot of time with an extraordinary family. Thanks to my friend Richard Perini's introduction, I got to know Vertrice, Michael's mom, Michael and James, over meals and conversation in restaurants right here in our community, such as Viva La Pasta I had the honor of meeting Mike's father, who came up for breakfast at Teal's Cafe before he returned to Texas. We shared a beautiful dinner in my home last night with their amazing grandmother, graciously prepared by my beautiful wife. My goal this week wasn't just to offer emotional support as they recover from an unimaginable event, but to spend meaningful time getting to know them as much as people, as much as neighbors. But what happened to me was something more than I expected. We didn't talk much about the tragedy. I chose not to bring it up, believing that reopening that wound would only delay the healing process. Instead, we found healing in the small, joyful moments, like watching Mike and my nephew talk about anime and lighten up with their laughter, filled with that unmistakable 18-year-old energy and youthful innocence. But the moment that truly moved me came last night. I shared with Patrice the story of my niece, a Chicago police officer who was murdered by her partner 2 months ago. As I spoke, she looked at me with such empathy and understanding, but still through it all maintaining that, in her words, there are still some amazing officers in this world, Anthony. Her resilience touched a part of me I didn't even realize I still needed healing. She helped lift the hate and anger that I carried from my heart for that man that took my niece from my brother and our family. In that moment, I understood where Mike gets his strength, his grace, and his spirit of forgiveness. She and her family have chosen to forgive those boys, but now justice must prevail. Scriptures teaches us in 1 John 4:20, if anyone says, I love God and hates his brother, he's a liar. For how can we love God from whom we have not seen if we not love our brother which we have seen? Simi is a very tight-knit community. I love nothing more than to reignite this hometown feeling that we all once knew. When outside decision makers, whether they're in businesses, film, or festivals, look at Simi Valley, let them see us as more than just a location. Let them see us as a united, resilient community. So I'll leave you with this. Let's not reunite and unite Simi Valley just to prove we're better than hate or because the nation and our children are watching, although they are.
I'm sorry, your time is now up.
But
Thank you.
I'm combined with another one.
I'm sorry, no. You're allowed your 3 minutes, and the next speaker gets 3 minutes. I let you go over 10 seconds, so I appreciate it, and what you were saying was very good. But thank you.
The next three speakers are Vertrice Perry, Carla Castilla, and Kenneth Hurst. And I believe Vertrice wanted Anthony to speak for her.
No. Unfortunately, according to the city attorney, we can't do that. Are you Patrice? Welcome up here, please. We'd love to hear from you.
I am Vertrice Perry. I'm Michael's mom. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for the support. Thank you. I really can't speak, but I want to pray. Because if I've ever seen God do anything in my life, it's always been through prayer. So I'll just do that. Father, thank you, Lord, for everything that you've done, all that you do, God. Lord, I give you the glory, and I ask you, Lord, to forgive me for my sins because, Lord, I too, Lord, have things in me. The people here, Lord, I ask you to bless them. And Father, I ask you to bless this town and this city. And Father, I ask you, Lord, to uproot, to go through, to seek out, to search, Father, any and all unrighteousness in the government in this town. I ask you, Lord, that your will be done for the lives of the children here as they grow up, for their children and their children's children. And Father, I thank you, Lord, that my son is alive. I thank you, Father, that other people, God, who've been harmed, that they are alive. And Father, I just ask you, Lord, to cause softness to go into the hearts of those, God, whose hearts are hard. And Father, I also ask you, Lord, to let your people encounter you, to touch them, Lord, in ways that they've never been touched. I ask you, Father, to pour out your spirit upon this land, upon this place, upon Simi Valley. And I thank you, Father, for all that you do. And God, I know, Lord, that never have the righteous been forsaken, nor their seed beg for bread. And I thank you, Father, that you will do it because I believe and I pray in faith. And I have never seen you not answer one prayer of mine. Search the police department, God. Search the city council. Anything, Father, that is not like you, Lord, let it be removed in Jesus' name. I pray, amen.
Good evening. My name is Carla Castilla. I'm a resident of Simi Valley for about 23 years, a business owner and an educator. I will use the time that I have to bring awareness to the following issues in our city. And excuse me, I'm emotional from that right now. The first thing is finding the missing woman, Roshan Atipayeva, delivering justice and accountability to the hate crime committed on August 1st, and the lack of protection for our Simi Valley families in the school district. Excuse me. Roshana Tipayeva has been missing since July 11th. That's 38 days. It is disgraceful that there was a 30-day delay in her search. That was valuable time lost. I don't know about anyone else, but my heart is heavy since, because I cannot even imagine what I would do if either of my parents were gone one day. Which brings me to my next issue, ICE raids. We don't know if she was snatched from our streets by masked, armed, unidentified men, but how can we deny that it most definitely is a possibility? For months, people have been disappearing without a trace from all over Ventura County into concentration camps all over the country. And families have been left with no answers and no help from authorities. It has been us, the people you serve and are supposed to protect, who have been offering help, helping each other. We, the people, have been out there volunteering our time to patrol our neighborhoods. We, the people, have been sharing our resources, organizing, and speaking out against atrocities. We, the people of Simi Valley, your constituents, went out on August 9th looking for any information, video evidence, or clues about Roshana Tipayeva's possible whereabouts. That was your job as VPD, but she was not deemed high risk, or I guess important enough. Not important enough. I repeat that phrase because your actions show just that on my next point. The hate crime with Michael experienced that cannot go unpunished. Mike Judge and Councilman Ayala, you said at the last meeting that you would guarantee transparency and justice. A citation for battery is not justice. Were they actually arrested, or is that something said to appease us? Please just show us, the people, all the people, that we are important enough to protect and be acknowledged. According to a concerned parent on the Acorn who wrote saying how appalling they were to attend their child's school orientation, and no one even acknowledged what is going on to our students' families with the ICE raids. At the very least, what the SVUSD superintendent, Dr. Hank Youssef, should do is make a public statement on how the school district will protect and provide assurance to all families. I call on you, city council members, to provide transparency and justice on the ongoing investigation from the August 1st hate crime and demand protection for all our families during the ICE activity.
Hello, my name is Kenneth Hurst. I live in Simi Valley, and I'm here to raise 3 items for your consideration. First, last time I spoke to you, I asked the City Council to direct the Simi Valley Police Department to respond to masked men kidnapping someone off the street. The fear of fake ICE agents is real and well-founded. Just a few weeks ago, a man was arrested in Huntington Park for impersonating an ICE agent, complete with a Dodge Durango with an interior light bar installed, firearms, and fake ICE paperwork. Elsewhere, there have been reports of women kidnapped and raped by fake ICE agents. I would like to be kept aware of progress or discussions pertaining to this goal. Secondly, I would urge you to sign a common interest agreement for the Vasquez-Perdomo versus Noem lawsuit. This will allow data collection about the harm done to our community by immigration enforcement tactics. Lastly, At the August 4th meeting, there was a question of how could the city council respond to the beating of a black teenager by a group of white teenagers. Mayor Kavanaugh made a good first move by expressing a desire to meet students at Moore Park College and another group of Simi students. I hope this has happened, and I look forward to hearing about the results. Another thing the City Council could do is to encourage the development and dissemination of teaching materials that address systemic racism, how to recognize it, and how to deal with it. Surely, after the events described at the August 4th meeting, no one would seriously suggest that systemic racism is not a problem that needs addressing. Thank you for your attention.
The next three speakers are Richard Perini, Gianna Carpenter, and Roop Mam.
Hello, City Council. My name is Richard Perini. I'm a resident and business owner in Simi Valley. I have a beautiful wife, 4 sons, 2 daughter-in-laws, and 2 amazing granddaughters, and many amazing friends who live in Simi Valley. I wanted to address the county's plan to vote on a high-density project in the Knowles community. This is a contradiction to County Supervisor's past approval of wildlife corridors, due to the fact it sits in the path of a corridor. In the description of the pros to the community, the site was in close proximity to Simi Valley's train station, which it is not. Also, the term affordable housing is no longer what it sounds. Sacramento has diluted the term to allow developers to make a financial contribution to a nonprofit. I ask you to please research what I'm telling you, and there are more issues in the county's plans. I know you don't have a direct effect on it, but I think it would be good for the community to know how Sacramento's dilution of terms is coming about. I'd like to also address Michael Robinson and his amazing act of forgiveness. His mother and grandmother, who are here tonight, I would like to thank Michael's family for raising a great Christian man, and his mother for asking activists not to resort to intimidation and violence on Michael's behalf. Michael's family's faith advocates peace and forgiveness. Michael and his family have publicly and privately forgiven the attackers and families. What I have found in spending time with Michael and his mother is a beautiful family who loves Simi Valley despite the attack on Michael. I do have to ask if we can have stronger policies on minor after-hours loitering. After speaking up with young and older people in the community, our public schools seem to be the breeding ground for these issues. If I were looking at solving this issue with gang bullying activity, it should include the school district and an open and transparent view of how our children are behaving. I know much of this is not a direct responsibility of the city again, but it's something, awareness and dialogue is the start needed to find a solution. As cool heads prevail, we must remember our law enforcement has been limited to the restraints of Sacramento. A solid case must be made and presented to the district attorney. It will take patience for a verdict, but due to Sacramento's limitations, not much can happen. We as a community must come together and not allow this to happen again. Thank you for your service during these difficult times, verbal threats and assaults. I ask people speaking for Michael to think of what Michael needs, not of what we want to verbalize by grandstanding with political rhetoric that does not help him. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Gianna Carpenter. I'm a sophomore at Simi Valley High School, a varsity athlete, and a member of our Simi Valley High School's BSU. Today, I had a speech that I prepared with thought and care to address you, the council. But instead, I want to talk about something that happened to me that was similar to Michael. About 3 or 4 years ago, I was in 6th grade. Sorry. A couple new girls came to the school, and I was attacked. Slurs were screamed at me. I was spit on. My hair was pulled. I was punched. I was recorded. I was threatened to be followed home. And when I contacted our police department, when my family did, I want to let you know that nothing was done. With the same thing that happened to Michael. It's not okay. It cannot continue to happen. And you are responsible for the protection of this city. You are responsible for stopping the cycle of systemic racism in this city. And you have done nothing. Nothing. And I'm looking at you, Mayor Kavanaugh. You have done nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing. Thank you. I relinquish the rest of my time.
Good evening. I think the members of the City Council know by now, my name is Ruth Mon. I am in my last year of law school. I've interned with the Public Defender's Office. I run an organization here called Rise Simi Valley that I founded. And also, my father and a lot of my family members are small business owners here in Simi Valley. So being born and raised here, it's safe to say I have quite the stake in this community. I, too, had a speech written out, but listening to the young woman who just spoke before me, decided to throw it out and focus on the problem. Another former speaker said that the breeding ground for these issues is the public schools. And I want to put a name to that issue. The issue is the culture of racism in this city. This culture that has existed since, like some have pointed out, the 90s, but far before that as well. I went to high school here. I know I look pretty young, but I went to high school here about 10 years ago. And when I went to high school, it was in a post 9/11 America, and I was called a terrorist. I was called smelly every day of my life. I was told that being an Indian woman, nobody would ever love me and that I would never be attractive. And that's what my peers told me when I went to school here. And when I reported them, the years of sexual harassment and sexual assault that I faced in Simi High, when I reported it, I was told boys will be boys. And I had to see those boys every single day until the day that I graduated. I don't want Michael to have to go through the same thing. There were several other boys in that video beating up on Michael. Why were only 4 arrested? Why were only 4 cited? And why is the police department and the DA hiding behind the fact that they're juveniles? Because we know for a fact that not all of them are. Under your leadership, Simi Valley is drowning. Businesses are closing. Business owners are having conversations that this is a sleepy city. The economy is crashing. People can't afford to live here. People like myself, who have been born and raised here our entire lives, who are now having to outsource to the valley or to other places out of state so that we can live, and we have to live away from our families. Housing projects that were approved years ago, have not started building. We hear people come here, we hear the city council attack affordable housing, saying, we don't want those kind of people. Those kind of people are me. I'm in law school. People are so bored, the youth is so bored that they are resorting to committing hate crimes, and you are doing nothing about it. It's time to stand up, and it's time to be a city council, and if you're not going to do it, we're going to vote you out. Thank you.
The next 3 speakers are Abijat Guman, Avery Estelle, and Bethel Solomon.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council, and community members. My name is Abijat Goodman, and I'm a junior at Simi Valley High School, and I serve as the president of the Young Social Activist Club. I stand before you because of a horrifying act of hate, and because I, as a student who practices the religion of Sikhi, have endured racism in my Simi Valley for years. Just recently, a teenager named Michael Robinson was violently beaten outside the Regal Plaza, attacked with racial slurs, and struck with a chair. One of the attackers is Jonah Collado, son of Jean Collado. He's attended Simi Valley High School and Valley View Middle School in my grade. And all I can say is that he's been in Nuisance for years and no action has been taken against him. It's still unclear whether or not Simi Valley Police has been doing the right thing in apprehending Jonah and the other suspects. And we like to call Simi Valley safe and inclusive, But how can it be when students like me and my peers live in constant fear? We need this council to reject racism, both spoken and symbolic, whether in our schools, homes, or even within these chambers. And that means naming racism our peers. That includes you, Mayor Pro Tem Mike Judge, who in 2020 said that protesters should be hosed down with septic tanks, a chilling reference to violent suppression. That wasn't satire, it was disturbing. This rhetoric betrays the values we need in leadership. Racist humor, demeaning suggestions have no place in our community. Mayor Kavanaugh and fellow council members, I ask you to speak loudly and act clearly. Stand up for students like me, support policies that protect us from racism, acknowledge that racism occurred in Simi Valley, and acknowledge the attack against Michael was a hate crime. Make it clear that Simi Valley is a place of safety, respect, and belonging for all, regardless of our faith, race, or background. Thank you.
Evening, Council. I'm here tonight to say what many people in this city already know. Simi Valley has a racism problem. And your inaction on the Michael Robinson case has proven that nothing has changed. Let's be honest. The city's name became synonymous with injustice when the Rodney King trial was moved here in 1992. The acquittal of those officers branded Simi Valley as a place where Black lives did not matter. Decades later, we're still living under that shadow because you, the people in these seats, have failed to prove otherwise. Mayor Dee Dee Kavanaugh, you claim leadership, but leadership without courage is meaningless. Maybe it's time to step down from the dais and focus on that real job that pays your mortgage. Mike Judge, you posted racist memes, joked about hosing down protesters with sewage. No, please look at me when I speak to you. Publicly and joyfully attended Trump rallies and dismissed the pain of marginalized people. You've already shown us who you are. And now, when we demand urgency relating to the racism that persists in the city that you publicly serve, you stall. This is racism in action, but you want to sit on that mayoral seat, though. Elaine Lister, you sit quietly, keeping a safe image. But safe for who? Certainly not for Michael Robinson's family and not for Black residents in this city. You've seen the racism of Simi Valley first person with your son. You should know silence and neutrality are not options in the face of injustice. Rocky Roads, you ran as someone who would bring accountability, but you've done nothing but blend into the background. That is not leadership. At the very least, it is cowardice. Joseph Ayala, you're new here. Your seat is an opportunity to fight for justice. Instead, we get more delay, more excuses, and more empty promises. This council loves to talk about community values, but when it comes to defending Black and Latina lives, you show no value at all. Michael Robinson deserves justice, the Black community deserves representation, the community of Simi Valley deserves better than platitudes. Truth is simple. Either you take action to bring justice to Michael Robinson and root out racism in this city, or you prove that Simi Valley remains the same as it did in 1992, where justice dies and racism thrives. The time for apologies is over. The time for action is now. And I'm not thankful.
Good evening. My name is Bethel Solomon, and I came today to speak regarding what happened with Michael Robinson. I am a proud first-generation child in this country. I'm grateful for the sacrifices that my parents made for me and my brothers and my family to have a better life in this country. I'm very grateful to live here. I'm grateful to God that I've had the opportunity to work, to go to school, to thrive, not only in this city, but in this country. My issues with what happened is twofold. The first part being, if this was flipped the other way around, from my experience from living on the East Coast and from being here in California, from what I've witnessed, I know this would have been a completely different script. If those were young Black men that assaulted a young white man, this would have been a very different story. And I'm not asking for violence. I am not preaching for people to go to the streets and be vigilantes. That's not what we are here for. As a woman that believes in God and believes in peace and believes in righteousness and believes in justice, that's all we're asking for. Those are simple things. It's a simple thing. I moved to this city, right down the street. I bought my first home. Down the street, I work. I live here. I invest in the small businesses. I care. I am not the only person that cares about what happens in this area. But unfortunately, what it looks like is as if we're just gonna pass by the situation like nothing happened, and that can't happen, y'all. We have to do better. So that first part is the most essential part, that we have to do more for the young people in this area. The second part that I heard from last town hall, and I'm still hearing even now, and even as a previous youth leader in my church, hearing the stories and the hateful things that teenagers are going through in Simi Valley, at Simi Valley High, at Royal, at Santa Susana, they have been telling us what has been happening in their schools. So one part is the issue of not dealing with these young men who, just from the last town hall meeting, and even in this same evening, we're still hearing the same thing. They are known for being rambunctious, for targeting people. You even had someone say that they had the cops come, that child who was related to someone who was on your police force, that they had called for their father to come to the situation. It's not a mystery. We know what's going on. So that's the first part. The second part is we need to do something about what's happening in the high schools. Someone has already spoken to it being a breeding ground for violence. If we are not dealing with it at a young level, these young men are just the beginning of more violence, more of the heartache that the city could feel, and we don't have to experience that. You want us to stay here? We want to stay here. We want to invest in where we live. We care about that. I'm not moving back home. I moved here. I have a mortgage here. This is what I'm investing in. So we're just asking you to consider not only what happened to this young man, but also to all of the young people in these high schools that do not feel safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The final speaker is Kevin Cosney.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Cosney. I was born and raised in Simi Valley from 1986 to 2004. I left for college, and to be honest, I never wanted to return to this city because of the racial terror that I experienced here as a youth. And I feel it's important for me to say that I grew up here and actually still live. Now, I've moved back, unfortunately, because my mother passed away. I live on the border of Moore Park and Simi Valley, and often am in Simi Valley with my children, shopping, visiting friends, family that are still in the area. And I feel like it's unfortunate that I have to say that because oftentimes we're told that these are outside people coming in to, that's not it. These are real experiences, and I'll maybe correct my friend over here who said that y'all have done nothing. That's untrue. Y'all have placated, y'all have gaslit, and you've deflected. And you've dismissed the realities of all the people in this room and thousands of others more. I want to give love to Michael and his family because I've been through what y'all been through, and I know too many other people who have. And you're not alone. And when you mess with some of us, you mess with all of us. This isn't an anomaly or one-off event. And I want to dispel some myths because there's a lot of talk about, oh, Simi Valley has a bad reputation because of the Rodney King trial. And every single time there's a racial incident, that's what you say. We could go back to 1969 and the founding of this, the incorporation of the city. And for those who know the history of civil rights, understand what a white flight city means. We could talk about Rodney King, but I don't need to because I went to Royal High School in 2000 to 2004 where they had swastikas spray painted on the wall, scribed on desks, in bathrooms. They had to change their dress code to ban iron crosses and Doc Martens because white supremacy was that bad. And instead of dealing with the issue, you swept it under the rug and said, hey, if we just change what you look like, maybe we can pretend that there's not a racial problem in this city. My friend Ruth commented 10 years. I graduated in 2004. She graduated 10 years after I did and had the same experience. In 2020, young black students here in Simi Valley held a Black Lives Matter march. And again, my sister over here said, you said they should be sprayed with sewage. And you have the nerve to get up here and wax poetic about the values of Simi Valley. Why are you even here? We have a real issue, and you've done nothing but ignore it. And so I'll leave you with this. Folks have come here already and talked about demands from Michael and his family. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you get to dodge responsibility and accountability. Michael needs justice and healing, and the city needs justice and healing, and we need real solutions to the racial terror that is here. And let me say this, white supremacy isn't just a Simi Valley problem. It's an American problem. We just happen to have a lot of white folks and a lot of white supremacy here, and if you don't uproot it, we're gonna continue to have the same problem, and we'll continue to fill up these chambers. I know my time is done, and your time is done too.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next item on the agenda is item 4A, City Council comments regarding public statements.
Move on to the next item, please. Oh, sorry. Councilmember Ayala?
Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Good evening, everyone. One of the first things that I want to say, beyond thank you for coming, is when I said that there would be transparency from me to you. And one of the transparent things I want to say is I don't know anything more than you already know. So if I knew more, I could tell you more. So I want you to know that there is no secret. There is no, this is what Joseph, you get to know, and they don't get to know. So I just want to be very clear about that. I also sat up here a couple of weeks ago and said that hate has no place in our city. I said that actions have consequences, and a lot of the people who spoke tonight spoke on those two themes. And so I want to just take a couple moments to talk about those two things. Someone mentioned that we need to denounce racism. And I would say that we need to do better than that. Because I think we can look around the room at all of us, even those sitting up here, everyone out there, and say we each have a characteristic that someone could discriminate us against, and that would never be okay. And I was thinking about this today because when I took a walk this morning, and Ms. Downs and Pastor Bird spoke about this as well, about hate. When I took the walk this morning, I saw a little sign on someone's grass, and it said, "Hate never made America great." Hate never made America great. And that was the first time I saw that was on my walk this morning, and it stuck in my head all day. And we could easily change that, right, to say hate never made Simi Valley great. And so I know that it's hard because we can pass a law and people can, there's a stop sign, you have to stop at the stop sign. But it's hard when you have to change people's hearts. And Michael Shaw gave us a little book, and he said, turn to any page. And I flipped to any page, and it literally said, education needs heart and mind. Education needs heart. And so one of the things that I'm committing to you is people talked about the schools. I don't know what they're doing in the schools in terms of helping students or programs. But I will make a phone call tomorrow to ask the school district, what are they doing in light of this? Because as you said, if that's where the students spend the majority of time there, and maybe that's a good place to start. So again, my door's always open to you. I will tell you, a few people have taken me up on that offer and have met with me this past week, and one of them said, I never thought that you were serious when you said your door is open to everyone. But I made it easy for you. So anytime you want to talk, any great ideas you have, bring them to me. Thanks again for coming tonight.
Councilmember Litster? Thank you, and I'd like to echo Councilmember Ayala's appreciation for all the comments. Some obviously are more hurtful, but everything needs to be heard, and I appreciate that very, very much. It's interesting. 2 weeks ago, we were here, had a similar dialogue, August 4th, and that next day on my Facebook page, I did make the statement, and I want to say it again so that it's more public. I don't have that many friends on Facebook, but I'd like to make that statement. Last night's city council meeting, and I should say tonight's city council meeting, was an opportunity to examine the inner fabric of our beautiful city. The events of this weekend, referring, of course, to Michael, the events this weekend by a group of juveniles are reprehensible and are being investigated. There is no room in our community for hate crimes, racism, intolerance, or bullying. And that was my Facebook page then, and I stand by that. I wanted to say thank you because after that meeting on our city council on the 4th, I was appreciative of the efforts of the co-founder of Spirit Life Church, Taran Taver, Bishop, who called for a gathering. And it's the church that Michael attends. And it was truly an honor to attend and join in that. I thought I was just going to be a fly on the wall, sitting in the back row, and it was delightful. Not delightful. That's the wrong word. It was humbling, and it was a privilege to be in that congregation and to be part of that discussion. And and I appreciated some of the thoughts and the ideas that came from that. I particularly appreciated that time seeing and meeting Michael and his beautiful family. Their example for us is tremendous, and I just want to say thank you to them for what they shared that day and what they continue to share of forgiveness and love and understanding. One of the comments that came out, the question is, so what do you do? What's the suggestion? I wish I had a magic wand that all of a sudden makes everyone love and appreciate, and that it's not as easy as that. One of the suggestions that Pastor Taran made is she said, this is just the start. We need to have more gatherings like this where we come together and listen and appreciate and learn. And I am very much in favor of that and would love to see that continue. And she suggested we find a big hall and rent it out and make that all happen. Also, that was suggested, they now want to make people be aware of, there is an International Day of Peace that's coming up. I encourage all of us to be there and support that. That's on September 21st, 2025. It's not obviously going to fix things, but it's a start. It's a time to come together. It's a time to heal. One of the things I mentioned then, and I will continue to mention, there's been a lot of conversation. Of course, hate exists at all ages. I'm not suggesting it's a youth thing and it's not an adult thing. Obviously, it's something that exists at all ages. But I will tell you that I know that the Youth Council, we have a wonderful Youth Council, and it's my understanding that they will absolutely make this a priority and a conversation. They have representatives from all high schools in this Youth Council. I know that that's going to be part of their discussion, and they will be making suggestions of ways to work within the schools as well, and I appreciate your willingness to go to the school. I realize my time is up. I just want to make a couple quick comments directly. I know that, for instance, Richard Perino, you mentioned that maybe some of the things that we need to do is look at curfews, et cetera, and there may even be something similar to that already on the books. So we could look at that conversation, because there should be a time when everyone's home with their families being monitored and doing good things. So anyway, there is things we can do and we'll continue to do, but really, I just want everyone to know that you're being heard, and we appreciate your efforts and appreciate that this is something we solve and we attack and we make happen to be a better place. We do this all together, and so thank you everyone for being here. Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will just make a couple of brief comments. Thank you, everybody that came out and shared your experience again. I want to call out specifically 3 people that are from tonight's meeting that are creating the epicenter of change, and it starts with communication and love. Anthony, Richard, and I'm sorry, Michael's mother, if you're Vernice, for Treese, I'm so sorry. I wrote it and I wasn't sure what I heard. The fact that you're communicating, the fact that you're talking and sharing, and I appreciated the prayer, because that's where it's going to start inside of each one of us. We're going to then try and reflect the change that we want to be. And you guys are setting the example by communicating and talking. I would also like that opportunity to meet with you and the family and start to see what I can do to help perpetuate that change. I've heard from friends and families that were close to Michael that were scared, that didn't want to come forward and share their experience in public, but they espoused what a great kid, and I would like to get into that sphere if I could. So thank you guys for coming down. Thank you for sharing your time and your prayer.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Some people mentioned tonight that they know that some of the suspects in this confrontation were adults. If you do have that information, please relay it to our police department so that they can use it in their investigation. The investigation will be completed and sent to the Sheriff's Department, not Sheriff's Department, the DA for his take on it. But if you have more information, please give all the information to the police department so that we can make sure that this is done and done right. Again, I equivocate with what Councilman Ayala said. There's going to be a complete transparent investigation. Nothing is going to be swept under the rug. Nothing has been swept under the rug. But we do need all the information that you possess. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Ayala, you said it the best, I think, this evening, so I hope I can follow you in all of that. But we did have the opportunity to visit Michael's church and to meet his mom and to meet Michael himself and Prophetess Taryn. And that was just the start of something. We all agreed that was the start, that we need to continue and to move on to better things. And you kind of said a word about we need to make change happen this time in our community, and that's the only way we're going to get something better for everybody. But I can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. So we're going to have to meet and come together and work together in order to get stuff done. I'm embarrassed that we have racists in Simi Valley. I am. I don't want to be known as a racist community, and that's what I told Giovanna from the Moore Park Black Student Union. She said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know. That's what I want to work with you about, because that's how it's going to work, is we're going to have to work with you. Is that what you all feel? Okay, I made a bad comment about this being a part-time job, but I told Prophetess Taryn, it's being, all of us up here, it's a 24/7. But I do have a other job that sometimes interrupts with my being able to schedule you. So that's where that comment was coming from. So I apologize if that offended anybody. That's not how it was meant. But I know we're trying to schedule meetings with the BSU at both Moore Park and at Moore Park College and Simi High School. Are you the young lady from Simi High? Yeah, you were very eloquent tonight. I really, your speech hit me in the heart. But I'm looking forward to meet with you guys. Okay, all right. So it has to move on, and John Tolson from the Chamber is the one that mentioned the Day of Peace coming up in September. That's already established there. We're going to try and see if we can make something more of that. We might as well utilize a tool that's already there. We have a great faith-based community here in Simi Valley. We have a great community of volunteers. We also are now going to have a great community of volunteers trying to make this a better and safer place for everyone. And I want to be part of that, and I'm sure anyone out there that wants to be part of that, we can come up with some ideas and get to working on it. I know we've already had somebody reach out to the city and provide thoughts, ideas, and plans on how to start making change. And that's what we need to do, is we need to make change in Simi Valley so everybody is safe, no matter the color of your skin. So thank you all for coming out, and continue to come out until we get it right. All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 7, the consent calendar, and there are no resolutions for your consideration this evening.
We have item 5. Oh. Continued item 5, sorry. Yep. We'll give it a minute to let people exit if they want. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess, please. 5-minute recess, thank you. Coming back from closed session. So next on the agenda, Madam Clerk. Excuse me, we're coming back from break.
The next item on the agenda is item 7, the consent calendar, and there are no resolutions for your consideration this evening.
Councilmember Ayala.
I'd like to pull item number 4.
Councilmember Lister.
I would like to discuss briefly item number 8.
Anything else?
I'll move rest of consent.
Second.
Call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Why don't we go ahead and take them in order? So item 7, consent item 4, what is it? Councilmember Ayala.
Who's answering the questions?
Depends what the question is.
Okay, I'll just ask the questions and let's see where it goes. The report said that staff had met with the California Office of Emergency Services for the initial review, and based on that, it was determined to continue the grant process. So my question is, based upon that meeting, what's the confidence level that we're actually going to receive the grant?
Well, we can never say whether we're, 100% sure or 50% sure. It is a competitive process. It is definitely worth staff applying for the grant. We would not be bringing this forward if we didn't think that we had a viable chance of getting the grant. So I cannot provide you with a percentage of, but what I would say is it is definitely something that staff believes is worth the time to apply for.
And then, because it's a $1.4 million project, so if we don't receive the grant, what other options are you guys looking at for funding?
We would look at bringing it forward in potentially the budget process in the future. Because this is identified as the evacuation center for the entire city, this is something that the Park District and the city have been supportive of partnering on. They obviously would get to use the facility or use the emergency generators in other instances as well, not just in the only event of an emergency evacuation. But because they're located as the emergency evacuation center, there is definitely a nexus for the city to participate and fund some of it. So depending upon the outcome of this, then we would come back in a budget process to determine what it would be to provide some level of funding and support, if that is the council's direction.
And the other question then about the 1.4 million is, how did we come up with the initial amount of 1.4 million?
We, the Park District had to do an estimate of what it would cost to do the project.
Yeah, because my question was, it says that if funding is awarded, the Park District will then go out to RFP.
Right.
So is there then a possibility that we'll get responses back that's actually above the 1.4 million? Because we haven't gone out to bid yet.
We haven't gone out to bid yet, but much like the council sees in the staff reports that we bring forward from Public Works, there's an engineer's estimate of approximately how much a project would cost. And based on the expertise provided by the staff that would be managing the system, that was their best estimate for what the system would cost. So yes, it would still have to be, an RFP would still have to be issued, but this is based on what staff believes would be the appropriate cost.
And then one last question on the cost then. So in multiple places, it says that our community center serves as the emergency hub, not just for the Simi Valley, but also neighboring cities in Ventura County, and also for the Park District, the Ventura County Healthcare Agency, the Ventura County Office of Emergency Services, and the American Red Cross. So I'm wondering if it's going to support all of those county agencies, would the county be willing to help pay the difference, or at least a portion of it, since they would be the beneficiaries of the project?
We have not approached the county for a potential partnership based on previous conversations with the county on other items. I would not anticipate that to be a successful conversation. But if that is the direction of the council, we can always make an ask.
Yeah, I mean, it just again, just because it says that it's going to be used by surrounding cities and specifically county agencies, it seems like the only time we're going to use the generators are in the case of an emergency, not just during the day. So I'm wondering if the county would help.
So the
Well,
only
hey.
thing that I would want to say is this seems to be conversation getting a little bit too far off this particular agenda item, which is just for the grant. We could always come back and talk about what would happen if we.
Yes, but the agenda item, just to clarify, the agenda item specifically also talks about the motion would be for the city manager to be able to go into an agreement with the park district for, because that agreement's in there.
If we are awarded.
That's only if you're awarded it.
Yeah, if we are awarded.
Yeah.
And before we accept the grant, we would come back to the city council to accept the grant and confirm that the city council is good with the amount of money that we would have to contribute.
Correct, but when it's awarded, at that point, could we also say, and we would like you to meet with the county to talk about funding, or is that too late?
I would say we can do that. When the application talks about the other county agencies that are going to benefit, like the Red Cross and health services and things like that, those are the agencies that respond in the event of a disaster. So they would be providing services as well, and that would be their contribution.
Okay.
Councilmember Lister?
I just have a question about this agenda item as well, and I'm realizing the attorney may say, oh, that isn't specific to the, but I'm going to ask the question and then you can decide. My question is, if this whole discussion is, I think it needs, wherever the emergency center is, it needs emergency generation. There's no question, so this is excellent for that purpose. But who decided when was it decided that is the primary evacuation center, and is there any liberty or wiggle room? As I was reading it, I realized, why are we not using one of the high schools that have substantial gyms and have locker rooms with showers and features that this park center does not have? And so if we're going to spend this kind of money, I just want to make sure it really is the best place in our community for emergencies. And so
It does have showers, and it also has a full kitchen that could be utilized. So those are two of the reasons that it was going to be
it does
used.
have showers there?
Yes.
So a couple things with this location. It was identified, and I'll ask, I saw Sandra, there she is, come on down. So Sandra has been working on this grant application with our staff to ensure that we meet the criteria and all that. But the center has been identified in our hazard mitigation plan for years and years. So I don't know exactly when it was determined that that's the case, that would be the location. Sandra, do you have any familiarity or experience with the school district being willing to let us use their facilities for
The question
evacuation?
did come up when we first started to work on that, and I was given the impression that they were not at this time interested in entering that type of a relationship.
And that's been my understanding as well. And I think that's why the Park District location
They
has
were
been
concerned about using
identified.
the schools,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There can be security concerns and such if it's, during a day, or we have to have people on campus and things like that, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandra.
Just to follow up on Councilmember Ayala's question, I did mention to him that even if awarded, there still may be some, it looks like a non-federal portion which may have to be split. And so if this
Correct.
question
Right.
wanted to arise from that,
Yes.
that would be a little bit different than asking about the funding portion.
That's exactly what it was the non-funded portion.
Yeah,
And maybe,
350,000.
yeah.
Okay, do we want to discuss item 8 now?
Thank you. Actually, I pulled it after listening to Ms. Ivana, who shared her support for it, and I think it's worthwhile. I guess my question is, in that item, if I understand it correctly, when it needs to be renewed, it is done just administratively by our city manager and wondered if maybe we should consider altering that so that it comes again before us in a consent calendar so that we are aware that it is in need of being altered.
I'm actually going to call up Carl. Carl has been the attorney that's been working with us on the Runkle Canyon project in our city attorney's office, and was key in crafting this legislation, this language. I was giving you more credit than you've earned, but you've earned a lot. So,
And I'll jump in really quick before Mr. Berger steps up. To be clear, if you wanted it after you authorize the city manager to execute these, for instance, if there was an expiration date on it and you wanted to come back, it can come back. This is just for the initial authorization for her to be able to execute it for these four.
Okay, so maybe misunderstanding, then you're saying it's just so she can authorize these four, but if there was need for renewal, need for
We could have language where
extension,
that came back to city council. That's correct. There's nothing precluding us from doing that.
so we don't need to amend this motion to do that. You're saying it's
Correct. That's not what I see. But Mr. Berger actually drafted it, so if there's particular language that I've missed, he can jump in. But from a legal perspective, there's nothing precluding it from coming back to city council.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. What Al said. So it's anticipated that these agreements will be amended, and simply because, as the council is aware, we have entered into an agreement with the developer in order to try to evaluate what infrastructure can be accepted at this point and which cannot. So at some point, we will have an engineer's report that will affect how these subdivision improvement agreements are worded and what kind of bonding we need for those. And I think at that point, it certainly would be appropriate, and we fully intend to come back to the city council, at least on the consent, to report back exactly what that looks like so that the council is aware and can share that with the constituents.
And I guess that was my concern. I want to be sure we know when that happens,
We-
how that happens, et cetera.
Yes, and I think as you heard earlier, the developers' representatives are here tonight to answer any questions that you might have. I can assure you, though, that they have been well-informed and cooperative.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move 4 and 8.
Call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is continued business, item 8A, introduction of an ordinance adding Article 8 to Chapter 9 of Title 4 of the Simi Valley Municipal Code, establishing a preferential parking program. The reading of the ordinance is as follows. Ordinance 1364, an ordinance of the City of Simi Valley adding Article 8 to Chapter 9 of Title 4 of the Simi Valley Municipal Code, establishing a preferential parking zones. And Public Works Director Ron Fuchiwaki is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Kavanaugh and council members. As indicated by the city clerk, this evening staff is recommending that the city council introduce ordinance number 1365, establishing a preferential parking program in the city. Preferential permit parking is a program that restricts on-street parking along residential streets to the residents that live in the area or live on the street, actually, and their guests. Typically, preferential parking zones are established along residential streets where parking is impacted by non-resident parkers, such as overflow parking from adjacent businesses, or streets that may be impacted by non-resident parkers from neighborhoods, schools, or parks. Preferential parking enables residents and their guests an opportunity to find on-street parking if current parking conditions are adversely impacting the residents who do not impacted by the resident individuals who do not reside in that area. The attached ordinance establishing a preferential parking program includes the criteria for establishing a parking zone and other rules and regulations. Individual parking zones will be established for a resolution. The criteria includes a requirement for a petition from residents along the street representing 2/3 of the dwelling units, requesting the establishment of preferential parking. Upon receipt of a qualifying petition, staff would conduct parking studies to determine if on-street parking is adversely impacted by non-resident parkers. If the location satisfies the criteria to establish a preferential parking zone, the proposed parking zone will be presented to the City Council for consideration. The council may adopt a resolution designating an area as a preferential parking zone based on the following criteria: that non-resident vehicles substantially and regularly interfere with the use of the majority of available on-street parking spaces, that the interference by non-resident vehicles occurs at regular and significant daily and weekly intervals, that non-resident parkers parked in the area of the proposed zone cause or are the source of unreasonable noise, traffic hazards, environmental pollution, or devaluation of real property in the area of the proposed zone, that no unreasonable displacement of non-resident vehicles will result in the surrounding residential areas outside the proposed zone, that a shortage of reasonable and available convenient residential-related parking spaces exist in the area of the proposed zone, and that alternative solutions are not feasible or practical. If the City Council approves the establishment of a preferential parking zone, then staff will install parking restriction signs along the street, sell permits, and conduct parking enforcement. Detailed rules and regulations, cost of permits, rules for guest and visitor permits, parking violation fee schedule, etc., will be established by resolution of the City Council once the preferential parking program is approved. Staff recommends that the City Council introduce ordinance number 1365, establishing a preferential parking program in the city. And staff is available for question.
Thank you. I have one quick question. On page 2, on column A, I just want to clarify the wording, or not column A, but item A. It says that non-resident vehicles, defined as those vehicles operated by persons whose destinations are to non-residential areas. Well, that could be, I live in the next block over, so I'm in a residential area. So do we need to clarify that a little bit better? Yeah.
I felt the same thing, because it should maybe say something to non-residents, because they're still going to a residential area.
Right.
So someone could read that and say, no, I'm still going to a residential
That
area.
non-resident vehicles, defined as those vehicles operated by persons whose destinations are to another residential area or not this area, somehow.
Well, I think the meaning behind this criteria is that the non-resident vehicles, defined as those vehicles operated by persons whose destinations are to non-residential areas. In other words, a non-resident vehicle could be someone that's parking in a residential area but visiting a commercial business, a non-residential.
Okay, so
area.
that makes sense there.
Mhm.
I've got a whole lineup of questions here. Did I open up a can of worms? Okay, you have your own. So I was just, because to me, I could be living in 2 blocks over, but I'm parking in a permitted area and I'm a resident and it's a residential car. So that's where I was trying to clarify. So this is more for saying they're at a business.
Correct.
They're parking at a local business instead of,
Well, their destination is a
is a business instead of.
business, a restaurant, school, church, park, but they're not a resident of the area where the parking zone would be.
And if I could just draw council's attention to page 4 of the staff report, which is the actual ordinance. There is a definition for, in definitions, which is the second section, well, it's all part of the first section, but section 4-9.802, resident number C is any person who lives in a dwelling unit located in a preferential parking zone. So non-resident would be anybody that is not that.
So that clarifies it better there. Okay, thank you.
Well, it kind of does and kind of doesn't.
Well,
because
you're next, go.
Thank you. That was going to be my first line of questioning. Where we had that question on verbiage is in how someone could qualify to set up a situation or a parking zone, and they're saying in A, if people are parking in the area for not residential purposes, that would be a criteria that you could use for creating a parking permit. With that being said, one of my big problems with these criteria is that we want to be able to set up parking zones, maybe even preemptively in anticipation of a problem coming. I would say that Mayor Pro Tem Judge, when he brought this before us, was very astute in saying projects like the Tapo Alamo project that does not have enough parking for all of the people who would be living there will bleed into neighboring areas. Whether that becomes real or not, I would like to be able to have our citizens vote to create this parking, even if the problem doesn't exist yet. And there's several of these criteria that I look at and go, we're asking residents to react to a problem. I want to give them permission to be preemptive. And what that does for us on council, and maybe possibly the secret thing that we're really trying to do, is horrible developers that are proposing projects with a half a parking space per unit. We want to be able to inform them that there will be parking zones near your building, and perhaps you want to add more parking because your residents will not be able to park on the streets nearby. I want to use that as a tool to be able to influence development projects as much as I want to protect the neighborhoods. So the criteria says wait until there's a problem, and I would like to erase most of that criteria and say if the community wants it, then if they vote and they go through the proper methodology for doing that, that they can do that. So that applies to B on page 2. I thought C was too subjective on the part of the city as a qualification criteria. And D seemed very sort of confusing to me. I'm anticipating a problem in my neighborhood, so I create a parking zone. And turns out people don't park there, and they go park in another neighboring community. Well, if they do that, then I can't have a parking zone because the problem moves somewhere else. That's kind of the point. And if the other neighboring community wants a parking zone, they should set one up as well. So most of these criteria I would scrap just because I want to be able to let the neighbors make their own decisions.
Let me include this, that when we get a petition, let's take a neighborhood.
Yep.
Several streets in the neighborhood. When we get a petition from one street, we're going to do the study, take a look at that, and if we think there's going to be overbleed, we can make a bigger zone, establish a bigger zone, and as streets are interested or may be impacted by non-resident parkers, they just simply need to petition the city and we could implement it for that street. A little shorter process for them as well. And in terms of preemptive, I think there is I thought there was a section that allowed the council.
Oh, please find it.
Oh,
Page
yes,
5.
it's section 4-9803C.
803.
The city
Page 5.
council may, at its discretion, adopt a resolution designating an area as a preferential parking zone. So you can do that.
Nice out. Excellent. I missed that one completely. And so if a group of residents came and said, hey, we want to do this preemptively because we're scared, and we could, with at least a majority of council, make that happen.
Councilmember Litzter.
I just want to understand this conversation that's occurring because I had some of the same questions. I think the purpose, as expressed by Councilmember Rhodes, was that the intention is to be sure that if there is a huge apartment complex with not enough parking on it, that it doesn't bleed onto the street and cause problems. They would be, and here's the question, one in particular, they could be part of that address on that street. So they would be considered a resident of that street, that apartment complex itself. And so I'm not understanding how, where there's language that would allow any way of preempting
So they can have 2 spots.
each resident. I know, but keep in mind, each resident, and you have 100 people living
I'm
there.
at the apartment building, can have 2 spots on the street.
That's not what it says. What this says, as I read it, is that every resident that shows they have an address on the street can apply. That's what the document says.
Yes.
So this doesn't, the way this reads, it doesn't preclude, in my understanding, what Mayor Pro Tem Judge is trying to accomplish here.
But wouldn't it be true, Ron, that if a neighborhood created a zone or came to the city and wanted to create a zone specifically to ensure that the residents of what they had determined was their neighborhood, they would draw their own lines, right? And they would submit that to the city for consideration. And if that excluded the potential
apartment that's right in,
complex-
that's right in the middle of the block, they can exclude that particular.
Their address would determine where they get the purpose of.
Right.
It would be the address of the resident building itself. So if they have, say if they have a Tappo Street address, there's no parking on Tappo Street.
I understand. I'm thinking of Tappo Street and the neighborhood behind it. I'm thinking of,
They won't have a, whatever the street is behind them.
I,
They won't have that address.
in terms of that particular project, they would probably have addresses on Tappo Street. Tappo would,
so there's no way they'd have addresses on the street that's right behind them where the neighbor, for instance.
to be sure, I don't know where their addresses would be. I would assume it would be Tappo Street, but.
Okay, if that is the case, okay.
So, and the other example, I think that initiated some of the discussions is Alamo and Tappo, and none of those apartments are going to have a street address on a residential street. behind.
Understood. And yes, for that one, I was thinking more of the potential prospect, that's all. I hear you. Can I ask specifically about the second page? It says, upon receipt of a qualifying petition, city staff would conduct parking studies to determine if on-street parking is adversely impacted by non-resident parkers. And so I guess I want to know what that study looks like and who pays for it. What? So maybe that needs to come out. I guess. Okay. So.
The study would be conducted by city staff, and typically how they occur is that first you take an inventory of the number of spaces on the street, let's say 50, and every hour or every 2 hours, you take an account of how many vehicles are parked on the street. If there's only 10 vehicles parked on the street, perhaps it's not as bad as if there were 40 vehicles parked on the street and there were no vacancies for residents. So it's observation based. You go out and take an inventory and you take hourly counts on what occupancy is occurring.
And we are saying that we would do this for every application?
Yes. That's the initial plan.
Okay, we'll let further discussion go on that one. Okay. Actually, I think that's it for now for my questions. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I really want to remove that part of it because I believe that if the citizens that live in these neighborhoods are industrious enough to go out and get 75% of the people that live in their neighborhood to sign a petition, we just initiate the parking zone on their request. They're going to pay for the signs. They're going to pay for the permits. End of story.
I believe that would be an option to the city council if you choose to amend the ordinance or
I think that'd
draft
be
the
very
ordinance.
important. Otherwise, I agree with all the points that were brought up. It's a great ordinance, the way it was written, just need a little tweaking, because I want to make this as easy as possible for people that don't want, 5 cars parked in front of their house that aren't theirs, safe.
Yeah.
Councilmember Ayala.
Good discussion. So just to clarify, is that part coming out?
Pardon?
Is that coming
It has
out?
to be a motion.
I think I've understood how to make that as a motion.
Great. So we'll have Councilmember Rhodes, who makes great motions, do that. But I'd also like him to make part of the motion that it seems to me that the way it's written, A through F because at number E, it says and, that when they come to the council, they have to show, we have to use criteria A through F to make that determination, not one or two of them, but all of them.
Well, yes.
Correct?
Primarily, yes, but it will be evaluated and discussed. However,
Yep.
if I understand, the motion would probably be to delete that whole section from the ordinance.
Then we'll let
So
that
there
one
is no
go. Great.
criteria.
Then what I want to do then is move to the bottom of page 6 of the ordinance. And it talks about the exemptions for which cars can still be there without having a permit. And I wanted to know if it probably does make sense that we add vehicles displaying a valid handicap placard. I don't know if they should need to pay for a permit.
I believe currently they would be required, but if the council chooses to exempt them from paying the permit fees, et cetera, that's up to the
Do you
council.
guys want to vote against people who have placards? You can if you want. You can if you want. I'm advocating for people who have valid placards.
I think that'd be fine, because I don't think that's really gonna, most people that have those placards would be parking in their driveways, or most likely in their garages.
That is true, although my mom lives with me, my handicapped sister lives with me, and so we sometimes do have to park the van with the placard on the street. And so I would like to be able to know that we wouldn't have to pay for that to happen. All right, great. The other one is just logistically, if we vote on this today, because people might ask us about it, when could they actually apply?
I suppose after the ordinance takes effect, which is 31 days after second reading.
Okay. And then once they apply, how long would it take for the signs to go up? Because obviously it's a problem, right? Like they're doing it because there's a problem, and they're probably not going to be happy if we say you're not getting signs for 6 months.
It's hard to say at this point, but I would think it would be less than 6 months. It would probably be, we would have to probably special order the signs, and then, or we, depending on the parking restrictions, we could have some in stock. But then the city crews would have to go out and install them. Estimate would be 4 to 6 weeks.
And then maybe this part needs to be part of the ordinance, maybe, but I'll ask you and you tell me. We probably need like a grace period before people, the signs can't go up one day and the next day you get a ticket maybe. But is there room for a grace period so they can actually go and buy their permits?
Oh, of course.
And that would be part of the resolution, wouldn't it?
It's not in there.
Sure.
No. This is the ordinance. The resolution is the details.
Oh, very good for you educating.
No.
No, is that right? Would that be part of?
So they'd have to, when they propose the 75% of the neighborhood, they're all gonna be told that it's happening.
Yeah.
They will all be informed, and they'll have to get permits once.
And so you'll let them know then, because they have to kind of know when the signs are going up.
Yes, we would, kind of thinking off the top of my head, once we get the petition and validate the petition, then we would probably send out notices to all the residents on that street, advising them of the permit costs, some of the minor rules and regulations and things like that.
Awesome.
But hopefully if somebody isn't applying for a permit as soon as the ordinance passes, we can develop some flyers or information flyers that people can come in and take home or share with their neighbors.
One of the things that I would recommend is that if we're receiving a petition from a neighborhood, there is likely kind of a champion of this in the neighborhood, and that we work with that person as well to ensure that their neighbors are informed. And in addition to the noticing that the city would do, I think that if somebody's already been championing this in their neighborhood, that they would be the person to best suited to continue to communicate that to their neighbors.
Yes, along those lines, we could actually prepare the permit the petition form and put that on there, who is the main contact or the lead contact. So you're right, they can be responsible for notifying the others in the neighborhood.
There are certain areas I might be the champion in a preemptive outreach.
One of the things that I wanted to mention, and I'm not sure if it was contemplated, but I'm thinking about it now because the questions are going to come to me later at some point, is I don't know if we have a certain area, like a minimum area that we want to be considered a zone. Because as I'm thinking about this, if somebody's like, well, my house is the zone, or this, 2 houses that are on the street are the zone. I don't know if we've contemplated that or if that's taken care of within it here, because you can have a situation where everybody can say, well, this is just my personal zone.
Potentially, that would have been part of the parking study, but since there's not going to be a parking study, we would have to evaluate how far the
At the
zone
same
should
time,
go.
though, it has to come before the council to approve each one anyway, right?
Adopted by
Yeah.
resolution, so yes.
So at that point, we could always decline because there was only you and your neighbor want the street.
Although the only thing I'll say is we have to have consistent standard criteria in order to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so without that written standard criteria, somebody could say it's arbitrary, the denial. It's just a thought, but I know it would become an issue.
Yeah.
So,
Right, because it should be contiguous too. You can't have half of this block and then half of the next block. It could be confusing. So
No, they would-
that all comes under the study, doesn't it?
Yeah, that would be, a zone would be established per full block.
Okay.
Between intersections. We don't.
Okay, no, that's
yeah,
good.
we wouldn't do halves.
So that would be our minimum.
Yes.
Would be
But
one.
does it state that in this ordinance? That, the point is that it doesn't. So it should be added, this is in addition, Rocky's getting that down, that a minimum of a neighborhood block is the minimum for consideration. Or half a block?
I don't know, I don't recall that it's specifically in the ordinance, but that would have been one of the rules and regulations that we would establish administratively.
Any other questions? Have we confused you enough, Ron?
I think so.
Are we ready for a motion?
I think so. Let's see how this goes. I would move introduce the attached ordinance 1365, adding Article 8 to Chapter 9, Title 4 of the Simi Valley Municipal Code, establishing a preferential parking program, striking Section 4-9.804, placing an exemption for handicap placards in the exemption section, and establishing a minimum zone as being an area between 2 intersections.
Is 2 intersections the same thing as a block? Is that considered,
That would be our interpretation.
is that your, I just want to make sure we've got the same definition. Okay.
Then I would second.
Call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And a little bit of power going back to the people.
I have a clarification from the city attorney. Do we make these amendments and then bring back for second reading, or do we have to do another first reading?
I think that, I apologize, we don't have to do another first.
Okay,
It
so I
was
can make
incorporated.
amendments and then,
That is correct.
okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of the city council, next on the agenda is item.
Can we hold on just one moment? Sorry. We're clarifying the motion to make sure we included everything that we had discussed. So Councilmember Rhodes might have missed something. Mr.
Ron, can you
Fushawaki? Yeah,
come
don't
back
go
up?
too far.
Ron, come visit us again, please. The parking studies that would be conducted, is that listed anywhere in the ordinance? Or would that be the resolution?
Is part of the section that was struck.
Because I didn't see that in that section. Because the section that was struck was the criteria.
I believe it's section 4-9803A. That's where it says it'll undertake surveys or studies, so that's the section that needs to be
Yes.
stricken, that was not part of the motion.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
That is
you're right.
correct. So we need to modify the motion.
All right. What's the proper procedure for modifying the motion?
Just do a second motion?
I think we would recall the item. The person who made the original motion, which was you, would have all the same modifications that you made with the additional
The
modification.
additional modification. So can we recall the item? Or have we just done that?
You
What's-
can recall the item.
Second if he needs a second.
Right. And I would like to amend my motion to include the striking of section 4-9803, section A.
Second.
Thank you. Call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
Good catch, team.
Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk, please.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 10A, City Council Member Reports.
So y'all are going to hate me. So I do have another question on that same one.
We got to get it right.
Hold on, Ron. So I know that it looks like we struck the entire portion of A, but the first half of that seems to require the receipt and verification of the petition, which I thought that y'all still wanted. It was only the surveys which you didn't want. Am I wrong about that?
Yes.
So we aren't able to, or we don't want to strike the entire thing.
Recall the item.
Sometimes that's why it's easy to bring it back, but I know we can get it done.
No, Rocky needs to recall the item, please.
Could we recall the item, please?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
All right. I would like to amend my amended motion to replace section 4-9.803, section A, and edit that section. I think this will work, striking everything from the word "the city shall" to the end of the paragraph.
Yes, that works.
A second.
Thank you. Call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
Third time's the charm. Go home.
Mr.
go home.
Fuchiwaki, you're done for the evening. Thank you.
Go home.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 10A, City Council Member Reports.
Thank you. Councilmember Ayala.
On Tuesday, August 5th, I attended National Night Out. Thursday, August 7th, I, along with Councilmember Litzter, we went to the State of the College at Moore Park College. Also that day, August 7th, I attended the Hispanic Business Alliance hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. On Friday, August 8th, I attended the Chamber Breakfast. I made an announcement regarding the Neighborhood Council applications. On Tuesday, August 12th, I was asked to be the guest speaker for the Entrepreneur Club, which I never even knew we had. I also attended Neighborhood Council number 2, which is the one I'm now assigned to. On Thursday, August 14th, I went to the Camarillo City Hall to work on the RDP bylaws and policy updates. We'll just have one more meeting and we can wrap that up. On Friday, August 15th, I went to the Real Options Women's Clinic ribbon cutting. And today, Monday, August 18th, I went and visited the Big Brothers Big Sisters office here in Simi Valley to learn more about what they do and how I can proactively help to promote their program. Thank you.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Tuesday, August 5th, I had a phone meeting, a Zoom meeting with the marketing person from the Clean Power Alliance to discuss and prep for a radio spot I was going to do on their behalf and our behalf for the Ranch radio station. On Wednesday, and that evening, I also attended the National Night Out, though I got there closer to the end. It was still going all the way until they shut her down, so that was a great event. Wednesday, August 6th, I had the opportunity to have coffee with the CEO of the Clean Power Alliance. We were discussing potential things that would happen at the board retreat, which I will not be able to attend since they moved the board retreat due to the unrest downtown when that was happening, and when they rescheduled it, I'm going to be not available. So he and I spent a couple hours talking about what might be on that agenda, and I think there's some very interesting cost-saving ideas that they're having. They're being very entrepreneurial in their thinking, so hopefully I'll have more to report after a future board meeting with them. Friday, August 8th, I attended the chamber breakfast. Sunday, August 10th, I attended the Peggy Sadler Awards, where 4 grants were given out to high schoolers for $500 each, and I want to thank the Republican women for continuing that great tradition in Peggy Sadler's name. It's a great thing that you do. On Monday, August 11th, the aforementioned radio spot happened, and through 3 breaks, we talked about the Clean Power Alliance and programs that are available to the city. For anyone listening, I want you to pay special attention to a rebate should you want to install batteries with your solar system. There's currently a rebate of $750. In the coming months, because we're in a high fire zone, we could get that bumped to $1,250, which is a substantial part of the battery system. So look for that program at cleanpoweralliance.org. On Thursday, August 14th, via Zoom, I attended the Sober Living Task Force, and they're following the legislation, and we're also hearing from speakers of horror stories of how these unregulated facilities are mistreating and even been characterized as trafficking their clients, and that's a horrible thing that we need some legislation to stop. And we have these facilities in Simi Valley. I want to know where they are, and that should be going through quickly, or through legislation soon. I also attended the Cal Cities Leadership Institute event on Thursday. On Friday, August 15th, I attended the Real Options Women's Clinic ribbon cutting, and I think that is the end of my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Litzter.
Thank you, Mayor. So on Tuesday, August the 5th, I too attended the Simi Valley Police Department's National Night Out. It was beautifully done. Thank you to all the city who put together so much and was part of that. In fact, I will tell you, one of my favorite conversations was with our sanitation department, and they have a beautiful new truck that was out, and in fact, I've got to follow up with some of my conversation there, but it was actually a delightful opportunity to meet many of our employees here as well. And so thank you for all that participated. It really was very successful and very enjoyable. On Thursday, August 7th, I too, as mentioned by Councilmember Ayala, attended the State of the College for 2025 for Moore Park. I wanted to share just briefly some of the takeaways that I took from that. President Julius Sokono discussed again how Moore Park College is in the top 10 Aspen Prize finalists, which basically says they're one of the top 10 community colleges in the nation. And so I think we should really be proud of what's going on there. In spring of 25, they experienced a 4% increase in enrollment, which is a positive thing. One of the things they celebrated the biggest is that they have mastered communicating with their students through texting, and that they have had real-time success by having a live person with targeted texting to help in the application process. And it was very interesting that they're becoming very successful in that. Afterwards, I took a tour of their performing arts program. Beautiful facility, but what I really gained a appreciation for is that their programming is geared for career paths, not just to entertain people at this beautiful place, but that truly they're teaching the craft of how you build a set and how you turn it into a career. So it was very instructive, helpful. On Sunday, August the 10th, along with Mayor Pro Tem Michael Judge, I attended the retirement celebration of Rabbi Michelle Pascal, who has served in our community for 33 years. And it was interesting as I learned a little bit more about her, that she was, when she became a rabbi, she was one of maybe only about 235 in the entire nation of female rabbis. And here she has served in the community of Simi Valley and has seen them go from a home to an industrial center to an actual temple that they worship in. And so it was a lovely celebration. To be honest, I was gone that entire next week. I have nothing to report other than that Idaho is beautiful. My parents are alive and doing relatively well, and grateful for that opportunity to go up and spend time with them. But I did want to mention today is my youngest son's birthday. Need to say happy birthday to James, who celebrates a quarter of a century. 25 years old today. So happy birthday, James. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
Madam Mayor, on Tuesday, August 5th, I attended also the Simi Valley Police Department's National Night Out up at the Town Center. It was a great show. I thought it was well done, and I liked it up there. It was it's much more spread out than it is in your parking lot over there at the police station, so that was great. Walked around, said hi to a lot of folks, and talked to some people. I then, on Thursday, August, nope, I didn't do that. On Sunday, August 10th, I did attend the retirement celebration for Rabbi Michelle Pascal over at Viva La Pasta, along with Councilmember Lister and one of our planning commissioners, John Tolson. And we had a good time, and it was a very interesting ceremony, and I mean, the way they explained her accomplishments and stuff, very nice. And I want to thank her for her service to our community here in Simi Valley. On Monday, August 11th, I attended the Council on Aging special meeting, and I want to announce something that's coming out on there because they're selling tickets for the Legends of Soul. It's going to be a holiday season musical event, and it's going to be held at our Santa Susana Auditorium, Santa Susana High School. Tickets are on sale, going on sale August 22nd, so please get your tickets. This is a great fundraising event for our Meals on Wheels. So remember that Legends of Soul. I think we have it on the city website, correct?
If it's not, it will be.
Okay, great. After that, I attended on Wednesday, August 13th, the Mobility 21 Summit Chairs Roundtable session, talking about the Mobility 21 conference coming up, which I represent VCTC on, who I represent for the city of Simi Valley. And that's a big deal as far as transportation goes. We talk about all the new items in transportation coming out, new, micro transit, all that kind of stuff is going to be at that meeting. It's a great event. On Saturday, August 16th, I attended a meeting up at the Monterey HOA. It was put on by the part of the Monterey HOA about their new gate, and I did go up there to apologize for the city's slow response in getting the permits put through. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. On Tuesday, August 5th, I, along with everybody else, attended National Night Out. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it being up at the town center, plenty of parking, and it was able to spread out a little bit more, and there were more exhibits and vendors and such there. Got to walk around and talk to a whole lot of people and collected little goodies for my grandsons. So it was really a nice night out. Everyone was having a great time. There was a lot of police officers there able to say thank you. You guys are doing a great job. We appreciate everything you do. And a great event again. On Wednesday, August 6th, in the morning, we had the Visit Simi Tourism meeting up at the Reagan Library. Tricia hosted it. Things are going well there. And after that, I stopped by the church. Is it Light Church? Life Church on Sinaloa, which is where Michael Robinson and his family go. And it was very heartwarming and very humbling to meet with them and to talk with them and to see what we can do moving forward into community. I think almost all of us were there at one point in time. And it really was nice to be able to show our support for them and ask them, what can we do to help? And I think we're going to be able to move forward there very nicely. That same day, I attended the Economic Development Collaborative Executive Board meeting in Camarillo. And then Friday, August 8th, I did a walkthrough at the Simi Valley YMCA. Ronnie wanted to show what the expansion plans are. And they've got some big plans for that YMCA. It's going to really be a great project when they get it up and running. They are going to have a capital campaign, so get your wallets out. But when you're someplace like that, you truly know the feeling and meeting of community. As I'm talking to him in the lobby, a former coworker and friend walks in. She's going to take a class. I look over at the pool, and a former park district director, him and his wife are getting ready to take their exercise in the pool. Then we walk around it, and former Planning Commissioner McGuigan's daughter's leading the class. So that's truly community here in Simi Valley. So good luck and best of luck to the YMCA on their expansion, and hopefully we'll see that come to fruition fairly soon. I also attended the wine and cheese tasting put on by the Republican women for the scholarships in the name of Peggy Sadler. Peggy was a wonderful lady, was always very supportive, and I was happy to be able to be a part of that. So that's the end of my report. Item 10B. Is it 10B? Any requests for future agenda items? Councilmember Rhodes.
Madam Mayor, I would like to, after monthly reading our financial reports, I would like to get a presentation from staff on the possibility or learning and understanding what the restrictions are on having our money be used more effectively as an investment vehicle. And I met a lot with, we can't do that, but I don't understand the rules, and I don't know where pushing the envelope stops and bad behavior begins, and I would like to know and understand that.
I'll second that.
All right, that will be an agenda item. Anybody else? All right, since there are no further questions or announcements, we will adjourn our meeting. Thank you.
Retire to closed session.
Into closed session.